television, we don't speak while looking down. We speak while looking up. Up. Thank you. Miriam, back in Nairobi. Headlines.
All right. Thank you so much. And I see Prof. And we also do have, I think, is it Kagwe Kamundi and Daniel Songa, professors, is joining there, and Samuel Tawish, and I think somebody else. And so let me just take us through the headlines quickly this afternoon on what we have on our papers. And we start with the Sunday Nation. The main headline on Sunday Nation: Uhuru Ruto's NAB Church call for talks, and bishops lament lack of interest by the president and his deputy to strike a truce, with Catholic and Archbishop Anthony Muheria saying, "We have prayed for the invitation to become a reality," even as the DP spokesperson accuses Uhuru's handlers of blocking effort to unite them. And so that is the main headline. And then we go to this Sunday Standard, and the main headline is Raila versus Ruto, a swap. I can't see there, but anyway, the DP and ODM boss out of character, with Ruto appearing to project himself as Raila of yesterday, while Odinga's approach paints him as a powerful individual straight from Deputy President's heydays in power. So that is the main headline on the Sunday Standard. Doc.
Thank you very much. The Sunday Standard sets our program. The Sunday states the nation, Sunday Nation states. I don't know.
Prof, could you mute please mute your device, Professor? Thank you. If you're not talking on the panel, mute your device.
Dr. Nyachama, yes. Thank you very much. Welcome all of you. Dr. Nyachama, welcome. Wesonga, welcome. Professor Jared Onya, and welcome Tawish Ole Sisana, all the way from Narok. This is Punchline Africa. Miriam and I are taking this show today. We are taking it on and anchoring it right from Nairobi and Europe. Not in London anymore. I'm in another country in Europe why the network is not good. Still fighting for Africa. Thank you very much. Miriam has set an agenda on the Daily Nation. We have talked about Nyachama, Onyari, Daniel Wesonga, Tawish. We said it, we did it here, that you cannot, Miriam, we said cannot do dialogue. You cannot do dialogue with a man who is actually armed to finish you. There is no need of saying handlers. Don't destroy handlers. Who are the handlers? Who handles who? The president is not handled by people who don't have the brains. We have all studied conflict resolution. I have the highest. Onyari has the highest. Others have the highest of strategies in conflict resolution. You first take away the bad. If you are mediating to Kenya, you take away the bad tomatoes and put them aside. Then you can begin to everywhere he bad tomatoes. And if you want to negotiate the conflict in Kenya, you must begin by first telling him to hold the horses. Their time. The bishops had already picked money. They have been picking money from him. How do you go to the man who you are picking money from to negotiate? What to negotiate? What? The constitution is clear. The Republic of Kenya gives the mandate the president to direct the deputy president on what to do. He's given the politics. Full stop. We don't to waste the time. Let's organize a free, fair, transparent election to pigana na Ruto paka tumalize Ruto atoke Afrika. Africa does this type of people. You are watching another Machiavelli springing up in Africa, Germany. You are watching another Machiavellian springing up. You are watching Fancy Fanon. I told you Kenyans, I told you. Now you see, I told you, Mr. I told you. There is a Fanon funds coming up who gives the people wheelbarrows to make them poor, then he can do them. Isn't that the fury of the wretched earth? Is that not the fury, the song of wretched earth?
Yes, absolutely, Dr. Masanga.
You first make people poor, then come and rule them. Then tell them, I want you to look at who have eaten the money when you are the one who have fraudulently eaten the money. It is better to fail. It's better to die when you have failed than to die to be proud when you are fraudulent. Did you hear that? One of the people said it. One of the philosophers put it. I have a lot of material in my head. I don't know whether it was Socrates or Aristotle or Emperor. One of the, I am sure it is Aristotle or Socrates who said it. You fail horribly than succeeding fraudulently. Is succeeding fraudulently. Jamani, mwambieni mjamaa huyu nyenye wa Kenya. Ambieni mjamaa huyu. Huyu mjamaa huyu atawaletea shida. A lot of shida which some of us have gone through. My country, I wish we listened to each other. Long time ago, thank you very much, Wesonga. That's the guy. And you can, that is the life that you in people in Kenya are leading. I don't want much. I've said my life. I've put my life across. I want to allow other people to contribute. I want Miriam to select the contribution panel about this topic. We move quickly, make your comment as quickly as possible. And make them precisely, don't labor too much. We said it, that there was nothing the president could negotiate with. A man who people to go and insult the president in his backyard. Then you come here and tell us that you are, all of us are peacemakers. But we must first accept negotiate when you are not remorseful. Yesterday he called the president names. I was watching in Nakuru. He called him names. And is taking. Where is Yadin? Where is Yadin? We finished him. And Ajue, the people, the handlers you are talking about are deadly. Are also powerful. Where is the Yadin? Yadin, why doesn't Yadin fly to Uganda? Zikondege, where the lawyers who ran around with their stupid things, shoes. Run now, go to the court. Go and take a step. Shut up. You, wewe. Sisi Waganda tuchezi. You insult me all the time, I told you. Ruto ambia wewe. Wacha nikwambie leo wewe Ruto nilikwambia. I saved you from jail. But you never came to say thank you. Utalia kabisa. Asante sana, I'm back to you.
Right.
Mimi ni What? Aende Uganda sasa. Senor, man, of you are a man told us Harun Yadin is investor. Mr. Investor. Onyari, sing the word investor. We are here. Where is the investor now? The trade union wants to see the investor investing in the trade, in industries. This is a terrorism. You take them to us. You take people. You are taking people that they, investor. They are making investor Ruto. Don't lie, people. Lie about Toto. People are grown up now. For me, I'm grown. What will you do? Will you even catch up with my age? Where? Some of us worked hard. We washed plates. We washed trains. We did things to have what we... But you came and stole. You steal every day. Tufungue kampeni hii mtaona. Back to you, Miriam.
Very well.
Miriam,
all right, thank you there. So Tawish, from the headline we have today on the Sunday Nation, Uhuru Ruto snub church call for talks. And then, of course, we're now learning that the DP spokesperson is accusing Uhuru's handlers of blocking effort to unite them. So we've been, saying that there could be a possibility this church clergy was sent by a possibility, Ruto's camp. And from what we hear now, is this the case?
Very well. Thank you so much, Miriam Ogutu. Thank you to Dr. David Masanga all the way from Europe. Thank you to the colleague panelists who are joining this program this afternoon, and of course to the viewers who are watching the program in Africa and the rest of the world. Miriam, I don't think it is the moment or time for us to point fingers. It's time for us to be on the blame game mode. Deputy President William Ruto must own up to what he has been peddling for the last over 5 years. It is not just time for him to look for excuses and to try and malign the names of individuals who are working around the president or the civil servants who are working for the government of Kenya. I think Deputy President William Ruto knows it too well, where the rain started beating him, how his relationship with President Uhuru Kenyatta became sour. And therefore, if there's anything he can do, let him just correct his actions and whatever kind of words that he continues to use against the head of state and the president of the Republic of Kenya. I do not think that it is the civil servants quite who are blocking any effort or initiative to try and mend faces between President Uhuru Kenyatta and Deputy President William Ruto. In the first place, in fact, we should be asking ourselves, how did we get to where we are? Is it that the president did anything wrong to Deputy President William Ruto, or is it vice versa? In this case, Miriam, I do not think that it is negotiable whether President Uhuru Kenyatta is the head of state, the president, and Deputy President William Ruto's boss in the party and in as far as the affairs of the country are concerned. He's the president and William Ruto is the deputy president. So I do not think there's any contestation to that level. The only thing is that we have a deputy president who thinks like his ambition must be allowed room, his ambition must be allowed to flourish against any other initiative or against any other noble endeavor in the Republic of Kenya. President Uhuru Kenyatta is very keen on fulfilling the pledges he made to the people of Kenya, and in that respect as well, to make sure that he achieves his legacy at least as he finalizes on his second and final term in office. But on the other hand, you have a Deputy President William Ruto, who has focused his eyes on the presidency. He has been but just campaigning for presidency for the last about 9 years. He's not been supporting or even helping President Uhuru Kenyatta to achieve the developmental agenda or even fulfill the pledges they made to the people of Kenya in the run-up to 2013 and 2017 general election. So it is not time for Deputy President William Ruto to cry foul and begin blaming civil servants or people in the inner sanctums of the Jubilee Party or even in the presidency. He has himself to blame and nobody else. For now, Miriam, I think that is my submission. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And of course, the Deputy President has since written a letter that he's shared on his Twitter account in regards to what the Catholic bishops had called for a couple of days ago. Kagwe Kamundi. Good afternoon.
Kamundi is not there. We
Okay.
can bring
Samson.
Samson Ongera.
All right, Samson, go ahead. Your thoughts on these developments?
Okay, thank you, Miriam. Thank you, Dr. Masanga. First, I want to make it very clear. Even from the word go, what the purported initiation by the Catholics or whoever was that was fraud from the first instance. There was nothing to reconcile. I'm also a Christian. I get principles in Christianity, which I believe the so-called bishops understand better than some of us. They could have approached Ruto and called him out, not what they were purporting to be doing. In fact, I suspected they were sent by Ruto to purport to reconcile. There was nothing like reconciliation. What was reconciling? And now they are blaming the hand. What are the standards? Who is at the head of state? Who is not a machine to be handled? Who is a human being? So my comment is, what we are going through was started by Ruto. Ruto thought that he was a deputy president. He was supposed to take the roles that was assigned by the president. It is the public domain. When our president said it publicly that please let us serve people. Wachana ikura tanga, that's where the tanga started. But immediately, in the same day, Ruto was somewhere having that the advice from the president that he has a right and then nobody will stop him from reaching out to the people. Now, you want to become a president, you want to read, but you don't want to be read. That has never worked elsewhere. We were trained sometimes back that if you want to become a leader of anything, even in a country, even of our school, you must be ready to be read. And the way we are finding ourselves is as was created by Ruto.
Yes.
It's Ruto, right?
Are you hearing?
And from where I sit,
It's not very clear.
Ongera, use
from where I
the
sit,
audio. Yeah. Remove the video.
I'm
Use the audio. Yeah. Yeah.
yes. From where I sit, Dr. Masanga and the panelists, this country is going through what we are going through because of one person. And this person is Ruto. Every straight thinking Kenyan must come out to call out Ruto to stop these theatrics. I doubt, and Ruto is even aware, that you cannot buy every Kenyan to support you. We don't understand the source of this reality, but I doubt whether it's from the correct source. I strongly believe that whatever Ruto is spending, whatever money Ruto is using to buy everybody, to buy these MBs, these are money that was stolen from the government and is now purporting to come back. This thing they call it bottom up. There is nothing that will work in a society that is you are very corrupt, you are the chief thief of the country and you want to steal from people, then you purport to come back under system. There is nothing that will like workers are suffering because even the people Ruto sponsored to be given positions in government, they were given positions and Ruto, I doubt whether they were given time to work. They were instructed to collect some money, and this is the same money Ruto is using to buy Kenyans. But it's not possible that Ruto will buy every Kenyan. We are very waiting. From the labor movement, we are very keen. Even you, and I think it's in the public. Our leader Turi has made will never support Ruto, because Ruto has never talked anything about corruption. What is killing our economy? What is killing this nation is corruption. It's not that we don't have plans. The government has plans. The government of Kenya, headed by His Excellency the President, has done everything possible to make lives better. But now, on the other hand, Ruto is working hard to downgrade the president, to make it impossible for the president to achieve all that is intended to achieve, to make Kenyans a better economy, to make Kenya a better country, to make Kenya, in fact, develop even workers to get jobs, Kenyan workers to get jobs, for the Kenyan workers to get jobs. So my submission is that Ruto is making it hard for the president to work, but we are watching and we are standing by the president. And what I would like to ask for these people from the church, let them reconcile with God. They started these things. They have taken money from Ruto, like Dr. Masanga has put it. So there is nothing like reconciliation here. They only wanted to pretend. And we know they have taken money from Ruto. Ruto has bought the church, and now they are purporting to come and reconcile. There is nothing like reconciliation. What we want, we are calling Ruto out, and we are calling upon all straight-thinking Kenyans to come out and support the president, so that come 2022, Ruto will represent to go to go and look after his chickens. That's my submission.
Very well, thank you. Thank you so much. Daniel Wesonga.
Yes, thank you, Miriam Ogutu, and I believe we have already guided the trajectory of our conversation. First and foremost, I would really like to urge the church to apologize to the people of Kenya for the role they played in dipping the hands of the church into this syndicate, which is described by corruption and impunity. Remember, the church leaders were the first people to actually gather in Karen to take tokens of money which was a proceed of corruption. And therefore, when they talk about reconciliations between President Uhuru Kenyatta and his deputy William Ruto, it actually reeks of hypocrisy, and it is ill-intended motive, because these were the same people who were giving William Ruto a stage to insult and actually degrade and poke holes in the legacy of President Uhuru Kenyatta. And just the other day, I read about an article Dr. Masanga wrote, and he was actually taking some symbolism from the biblical Zacchaeus, who was a blemished tax collector. And he said before Zacchaeus became a follower of Christ, he had actually to undo whatever evils, whatever corruption that he had done as a tax collector, and that was by returning everything that he owed to the society. So therefore, before they tell us about the journey to unity and reconciliation between the deputy president and his boss, they should also tell the deputy presidents to move around the country in equal energy and to tell people that whatever he was telling them about the legacy of the president, about lying that the president has wasted the last 4 years drumming up support on BBI, and also to return monies that is perceived to have been stolen under the auspices of his allies in the cabinet and the other departments in the government. So therefore, Miriam, there's nothing as unconditional reconciliation that the church was pushing. We need to have these leaders come together, and the leader who is the instigator of the aggression that is there between the president and his deputy is the deputy president himself. So let him undo all the evils he did, the things that made him to fall out of grace from his boss. That is the only way we can follow. But as long as he continues on the trail of premature 2022 campaigns, as long as he goes to every church, every political gathering, talking ill about the administration, that he enjoys the packages that come with it, then I don't think it is genuine. And the church should actually know better and spare Kenyans of such time-wasting rhetorics about reconciliation. I believe as it is right now, Miriam, the train has already left the station, and whatever President Uhuru Kenyatta is doing right now actually is concentrating on delivering on his legacy and the Big Four agenda. And that is what he should be doing, because right now I think all is lost in terms of reconciliation with the Deputy President. There was that grace period for that, and the Deputy President failed to exploit such avenues to ensure that he can go back to track and fall back into the grace of his boss, the President Uhuru Kenyatta. For now, Miriam, I think the church is being a bit dishonest, as my fellow panelists have opined. I submit.
All right, thank you so much. And just a bit of that letter that Ruto tweeted about an hour ago in response to today's headline on the Sunday Nation that we've read there, Professor. And apparently Ruto's side has been wanting to have these reconciliatory talks with President Uhuru Kenyatta, but apparently they're lamenting that President Uhuru Kenyatta's handlers have made it difficult for them. And this letter is dated 16th of September 2021. So I think it's just a few days after the bishops held that press conference calling on President Uhuru Kenyatta and his deputy to have a handshake. And I'll just read a bit of that. And it says, it is also for this reason that I appreciate with humility your concerns about the state of my relationship with His Excellency, the President, in the context of peace and tranquility in the country. I want to give you my assurance that I hold nothing against His Excellency. And then it continues and is saying he's open and is willing to have these unconditional talks with the President. From what we've been seeing, he's almost sounding desperate to want to go back together and be with President Uhuru Kenyatta and perhaps have a working relationship. But also, is this a man that perhaps is regretting, perhaps a few things or mishaps he's had in the recent past that perhaps have brought this relationship between him and the President to what it is today, Professor?
Professor Onyari.
Miriam, that is a very good question.
From Ram.
I'm resting on my farm, Dr. Masanga. Let me just have this to say that that's a good topic, and I am persuaded to go for reconciliation and not go for reconciliation. You can recall, Miriam, that we did say that there is a problem which the Deputy President used to deny. He used to say that his relationship with the President was good, but time had come to bear us and say that there is something wrong. And Miriam, once I have said there is a problem, one of the things which I need to be told as the Deputy President attend the cabinet. And if it does, Miriam, then I think that is the best forum for such a council to be discussed and be able to answer the President and the rest of the cabinet members why is going out and every other day criticizing the President. Even yesterday, the kind of statement he said from Ngata in Nakuru, Miriam, is totally unacceptable for the Deputy President, who is principal assistant to the President, Miriam, to post a rebellion. The best avenue for this kind of reconciliation, if there is any, may they do it at the cabinet level. And these men of the growth, they are the ones who have caused confusion in this country. And if indeed they have been called and they prayed, sometimes, Miriam, there are some prayers God is not interested at. As you are praying for reconciliation, why don't you just go and tell this man whom you are collecting money from that he should respect his boss? What does the Bible say? Become a human being if you respect your boss. There is no doubt that the President is chief of the armed forces of the Republic of Kenya. There is no doubt that the President is the head of government. There is no doubt that the President is the head of state. So if the men of the crowd were smart enough and were honest, Miriam, then they should be able to advise him on what to do. Dr. William will never become a human being and deal with the constitution, Miriam. He can walk to the President and say that Mr. President UK, I'm sorry, all the activities which you've been doing, may you forgive me because I've realized Kenya is bigger than all of us. Remember when we have all gone, Miriam, Kenya will remain. And the president has always said that the only gift he can give the people of Kenya, Miriam, is peace. It's the matters of peace. So the church of God, I don't shrines. Can I equate them to the caves of these brothers of Mount Kenya? They were going the other day that they have gone to pray. When they can go and the deputy president man respect the head of state. Sorry, for the country, and all will be well. I submit, me.
All right, and Prof, your connection is a bit. I don't know where you are. Is a bit windy. It's not very good. So I don't know if you could get a better position where the wind is not too much, so that we can hear you without too much interruption. But thank you for that, Dr. Joseph Nyanchama. Good afternoon.
Oh, good afternoon, Miriam, and my fellow panelist, Dr. Masanga Wesonga, Professor. And I can see there's a new guest. First of all, Miriam, allow me to say something.
There are two guests, two new guests. There is Fongai Vinzu from Zimbabwe and Ongera from Nairobi. Prof. Doc.
Thank you, Dr. for such a correction. Firstly, I think Professor Nyari is in the room and they can bear me witness. Let me dig in a little about Jesus Christ's story. Professor Nyari, you can bear witness here, and every person listening. Jesus Christ, he never appointed the people he healed to be his disciples. Do you know why, my fellow panelists? Jesus himself believed the highest level of psychophancy is indebtedness. That is why the fact that he healed them, he knew they could be compromised, their conviction towards the propagation of the word. They could lie to him because they felt indebted. Coming back to the topic under discussion, these bishops or religious leaders, it's good, Miriam, that you said religious. I could be very worried if you use the word Christian. Religious leaders. You know, there is a difference. In fact, most people these days are moving from religions to God. They are religious. Miriam, let's emphasize the greatest enemy of Jesus Christ were religious leaders. In fact, who betrayed him. For me, I agree with Professor Nyari. One thing is this: the religious leaders should call one of their members who attend church every Sunday purportedly to counsel him to respect his boss. That is the first responsibility. Counsel the deputy president to respect his boss. That's the first thing. Number two, you cannot purport to lead a reconciliation by calling a press conference. Dr. Masan, I am surprised. Why? Number three, the person who says is ready for reconciliation must first of all admit a breach of trust. You know, the process of reconciliation, Miriam, is very clear. You acknowledge breach of trust. You come with humility. That is why, as Christians, we say there can never be salvation without repentance. And these church leaders know you cannot reconcile or be saved until you repent. Therefore, it means you must confess your violation of trust. Thirdly, Miriam, Is it a mere coincidence that this issue of reconciliation is coming up immediately? The former Prime Minister made very critical inroads to the Central Province. Is it a coincidence? I don't know. The timing of the uttering of words of reconciliation, in fact, unveils a hand-to-hand systematic manipulations, both the Deputy President's group and the religious leaders. We are not children. And that is clear. The religious leaders advancing this narrative must go down on knees and confess their sins for misleading this republic. And counsel their member, who is the Deputy President, because he always castigates others as pagans. Now that they say he is a Christian who goes to their churches, let him counsel him to respect his boss. Let us not be taken round with the politics on a sensitive matter like national leadership, because the Bible says, respect your leader. The leader of the Deputy President is the president. That is a true virtue of Christianity. Miriam, how can you say your spouse has accepted for reconciliation when he is still in the bars hugging other patrons of the bar? I mean, give me a break, Miriam. I submit. I don't have much to say. I get agitated sometimes.
Thank you so much, Dr. Justin. We move on to our next topic, which is on the BBI. The case is at Supreme Court, and Attorney General Kihara Kariuki has appealed the judgment on the Building Bridges initiative at the Supreme Court. The case sets the stage for another bruising court battle, which is likely to raise the stakes in the 2022 succession politics. In his 5-point grounds of appeal filed through Solicitor General Kennedy Ogeto, the AG wants the Apex Court to overturn Court of Appeal decision and to declare that the Constitution of Kenya Amendment Bill 2020 complied with all requirements to warrant a referendum. Doc, you can start us off in that.
Let me summarize this one for all of you so that we move fast. We have a guest from Zimbabwe whom I believe Miriam is waiting for. Zimbabwe rising and rising. We are back to where we started. The final whistle comes from this Supreme Court. And for you who is watching where this country, Kenya, is going, anyone worldwide, anybody internally watching and seeing how this country is going at the moment with the type of insults, the type of words that the Deputy President is throwing around against the President and other things working, and the people going to Parliament again to use another channel, any judge will stand firm and say, hello, let's just save the country. The BBI is the only route that Kenya needs. The BBI is a redemption strategy that Kenya needs. What is a redemption strategy? It's healing, accountability, reconciliation, truth-telling, restitution, reparation. It goes to a healing process. A country that has no healing process, a country where people are not remorseful, you cannot expect a free and a fair, transparent, after election results. You will not have them. And I'm repeating, you will not have these free and fair people going home and waiting for the results tomorrow and go about with their work without disruption. You've seen already what Ruto is doing. He goes to Nakuru, he changes the whole situation of reconciliation. Some people in Nakuru did not attend that meeting because some of them have not restituted. Some of them have not been reparated. Some of them are IDPs in Nairobi. There is quite a lot to be done. And the BBI is the only route. If you want a peaceful Kenya today, tomorrow, generations to come, hallelujah. Today is Sunday and we have preached this, hallelujah. Nyachama has just said Jesus never appointed anybody that he healed, including Zakayo. Ruto is Zakayo of Kenya. A tax collector who was told to return everything before he sees the kingdom of God. But this taxpayer of Kenya called Ruto goes to quote every verse in the Bible, every Sunday. But he has never returned everything and he doesn't want BBI. He goes to tell judges to rule against the president, to embarrass the president. He goes to tell everything that happens. Look at the people, the group that moves with Ruto. They are moving while looking behind because this year is coming. What type of characters are you people trying to say that this will be your leaders tomorrow, ministers? Can you give Kachagwa to be a minister? What can he do with this? That Kachagwa, I don't want to say many things here. What will Kachagwa do anyway? He doesn't have education to write a policy. So will you give him a ministry? What will he do? Because he has money, stolen money. Look at everybody who is around Deputy President Ruto today has a case in court. All of them, from Waruke, Baraza, everybody. Moses Kuria has several of them. Some of them I paid bail until I don't know. People are going to see him in a hospital. When I return to Nairobi, I will not go and see. I'm praying for him. Because when I go to that hospital bed, I will demand my 242,000. Wallahi ya Mungu. So I will not do that. I will pray from my home. And pray for him. I've forgiven him. Onyari wants me to do that every day because he's a Christian. I bailed him out from industrial area, prison where people had rejected him. But he went around, now he's a boss. You know? So look at the people who are running around the deputy president. He's a liar. He lies to everybody. He refused the PBI. Miriam, we are tomorrow, the Supreme Court decides. Believe me or not, if the Supreme Court does not save Kenya, don't ask me who else will save Kenya. It's God. Can I repeat that statement? If the Supreme Court does not save Kenya, then let's ask God to save Kenya. You have already seen the hiccups in the elections. Chebukati is now beginning to show why they appointed Chiroba to be the head of the Communication Authority of Kenya. You see where we are heading, Jamed, Ongeri, and all of you. You can see where we are going. In fact, we are not blind. All of us are not blind. Even the blind people are very useful to the community. But in Miriam, you can see where we are heading. And the worst thing for the 2022 is that two sharp men, both of their supporters, none of them will just accept lying law. No, honestly, none. You tell me one of them who is saying, let's just keep quiet. And I agree with the point that time has come for the country to seek a national redemption strategy, not a political process. And I repeat again, a national redemption strategy, Mr. President, not a political national strategy. It's a national redemption strategy. The healing process that whose components are very clear. The components are the ones that I've read to you. I therefore submit. And unless there's something from any of the guests to add on that, we should move to United Nations Security Council. Then we come to African topics and we finish. But that is what I believe, and I believe that the court tomorrow will look at that. That filing, the last filing alone, Miriam, forget about the others. That one alone, the argument is very sharp. Was it constitutional? Was it constitutional or not? Have you seen where we can summarize it? The Supreme Court is not going to look at all those documents. It's going to look at that. Was the process constitutional or not? If the process was constitutional, then we start it. And they have no right to tell us whether 2 years to come or now, because they don't have the mandate. You get my point? You can see the strategy. Is they drop the bomb that now it is, they think it's constitutional. Was constitutional? It was need 4 million signatures. It doesn't matter who has brought them, but they must be brought. To trivialize the law by saying the president is a supreme body near God. No. President, there is no half God, Jermaine. Is there half God? Maybe Onyari knows this. Is there any half God, Miriam? Either it's God or not. So you can't categorize the president a half God. No way. The president is a human being, natural. He votes. Then why does he go to vote? Why do you give? No. If you think it is not a constitutional matter, why does the president of the Republic of Kenya go to vote? He picks up his suit and with his wife and they cross over to the Gatundu South. They go and vote. Why? Why? That's what Wanjala must tell me, because Anjala's status are equal to Nyachama, Matsanga, and Onyali and the rest of us here. That's the reason with Judge Wanjala. Why? Why does a president who has been given a title go to vote instead of sitting? He's not a king. He's not Karaka Mutesa. He's not Her Majesty the Queen, who would just sit home if he decides not to vote. He's a normal person who decides to go and cast his vote. Therefore, casting the vote is equivalent to initiating. You can initiate. What is the if you say what? Then why do I have the media? Why do I have the what do we call it? If you see the meat and the saliva goes down the throat, what is it called in our local languages? You know, when you kasika meat, you go, it is chomaring on the fire, the saliva. Tawishi knows this, is an expert here of meat. You know, the saliva automatically starts, you know, salivating. You start salivating. Why do you want the president to salivate? When the meat is there to be eaten, he is also human. Then you rather stop him, not completely in a Chama, not to go there and tell the Constitution. The framers should have said the president should not even vote, should be neutral. But the framers left us to say, interpret the president is a human being, he can go and vote. He can choose the party he wants to support. Then why does he do that? Then you say he should not initiate a project which is going to help the same people that he is voting for. or he's voting against. Why? So the summary, Miriam, have you seen? It is very interesting. The summary is that one. I thank you. I close the chapter. I think unless there's someone who wants to make a comment.
I wanted to.
Yeah, make it quick. There you
I want to make a comment in regard to the Supreme Court. Please, I want to urge them to answer the question Abraham Lincoln asked the judiciary and the people of US, and this was the question. Can you preserve a constitution after the nation has been lost? That's the question he asked. Can you preserve a constitution after the nation has been lost?
Yeah, can you preserve?
In that regard, Dr. Masanga, I want to persuade them to look at the maxim called Populi Supreme Lex, that the welfare of the people is the supreme law.
Yes.
Any law, any decision must be that one that should protect the welfare of the people. Miriam, I submit.
Oh, wow.
Can you say, I lost the meat when you have not eaten? That's exactly what Abraham Lincoln said. When you see the meat, isn't it in a chama, you salvage. You allow hunger to kill you, then you regret why you didn't eat the meat. Lincoln was saying, you eat the Constitution when the nation has gone down. The lawyers eat the Constitution. Will the Supreme Court eat the Constitution when this nation is lost? I agree with you, Nakama. The Constitution remains there. Will you eat it? But the nation is never eaten. Thank you very much, Miriam. Let's move to the other topic.
All right. So do we look at
Miriam, I have one point to say on what's going to appear before this.
Go ahead, Professor.
Miriam, what happened in the just use certain things like the best structures. This is what the Supreme Court want to do. And let me tell you, even out of this court of appeal, good things came out of that judgment. Remember, Miriam, the bill has already been published. They say that the parents who have been sleeping on the job, that they can be able to amend and bring some changes in the constitution. The bill that the members of parliament can be cabinet secretaries, Miriam, it has already come out. There's one which is being worked on, Miriam, on whether we are having, they introduce the position of the prime minister. So, Miriam, the Supreme Court is going to attend itself on issues to do with the point law, some of the foreign things which were important to our constitution, Miriam. I submit.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Professor. So I guess now we move on to Kenya at the United Nations Security Council. Doc, you can start it off for us. Okay, so earlier, of course, in the year, President Uhuru Kenyatta outlined a 4-point agenda that Kenya will advance as the country settles in its non-permanent seat at the United Nations Security Council. The president listed leveraging the knowledge and buy-in of stakeholders closest to crisis and supporting the Security Council as well as associated United Nations bodies to strengthen the capacity of state institutions during post-conflict reconstruction as two of the measures that Kenya will support, among other issues that Kenya will be seeking to advance. Even I think it settled in its new role last week. Doc, can you hear me? Okay. I guess Doc is held up. So I think we'll just move on. We've covered Kenyan stories. So now we'll move on with other stories from across Africa. And at this point, I think I'll welcome Vongai from Zimbabwe. Vongai, a very good afternoon to you. Okay, so Vongai is not there. Dr. Matsanga, are you there? Good afternoon. Very well. So perhaps, Wesonga, you'd start us off with how Zimbabwe is rising and rising.
Yes, thank you, Miriam Ogutu. And of course, I've been following a lot of things that are happening in Zimbabwe. And that is in key areas that President Emerson Mnangagwa has been concentrating on. And one amongst them is the industrialization. You realize that so many industries have been actually set up in Zimbabwe. Just this morning, I've been watching where an oil refinery is actually being constructed in one of the provinces in Zimbabwe. We've seen agriculture being boosted through the counties, where in coordination with the county governments, equipments are being distributed to farmers across Zimbabwe. Also, another thing that President Emerson Mnangagwa has done, just like President Uhuru Kenyatta here in Kenya, is investing in healthcare. And we've seen so many clinics being constructed in major cities in Zimbabwe. We've seen also roads from other cities like Bulawayo being recarpeted, and just making sure that the country that perhaps was perceived to be bedeviled by sanctions actually rises in terms of infrastructure, industrialization, education, and healthcare. So I think this is a very, very good thing, Miriam, for Zimbabwe. And you realize that when they do this, when they open up the country, when they tarmac the roads, when they build more schools, when they actually also improve the healthcare of the people, then the economy will be vibrant. And as it is, yesterday I also read some news from Rwanda, where actually Rwanda is also aiming teachers from Zimbabwe. And that tells you that such kind of bilateral relations in terms of exchanging even the workforce is going to make sure that Zimbabwe also has some income flowing in from the government of Rwanda, which is going to be employing these thousands of teachers who are going to teach back in Rwanda. So that is some of the progress that the government of President Emerson Mnangagwa is making, despite of the sanctions that have actually been ripping apart the economy of the country. So to me, I think with the leadership of President Emerson Mnangagwa, there is actually light at the end of the tunnel. The other time we had an activist from Zimbabwe who was on the conversation, and she said clearly that initially when President Mnangagwa took power, they were quite pessimistic about his agenda, his economic model, and whatever he held in the bucket for the country. But later on, they have realized that actually this is a man who is very, very much determined about delivering for the people of Zimbabwe. And his vision for the people of Zimbabwe is quite clear, in that he has focused more on developing the normal mwananchi, the normal folks on the street, in order to alleviate their livelihoods and give them the best of the infrastructure and all these amenities that come along with the national government development. So, Miriam, to submit, I think Zimbabwe is doing quite well. And if they could get the support of the international community, if they could get the support of the African countries to go around these sanctions, I believe there is more potential that could be attained through the leadership of President Emerson Mnangagwa. I submit.
Thank you so much. Samuel Tawish. All right, Samuel Tawish seems to have left the conversation. I don't know if Bongai is there. Bongai, if you can hear me, good afternoon. All right, very well. So, Dr. Matanga, are you back? Okay. All right, we seem to have suffered a bit of a technical hitch there from Dr. Matanga's side. So I think I'll just go to Professor Samson Omechi Ongera. Thank you so much. Samson, if you can hear me, good afternoon.
Thank you, Miriam.
All right, so
I've been following very...
Go ahead.
Miriam,
yes.
Are you getting me?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, I've been following very closely the developments in Zimbabwe under the leadership of the Emerson Mnangagwa. And I want to appreciate the efforts that the government of Zimbabwe is doing to revive the economy through the agriculture, education, and health sectors. And despite the fact that the Zimbabwe had gone deep into the crisis, economic crisis, but since the leadership took over the leadership of Mnangagwa, I am seeing some hope. The country is growing. The economy is reviving. There is a lot of reforms across the economic sectors, and the rate of employment is trying to go down to the level that now the Zimbabweans are now going back to use the local currency. Apart from those days they were using the dollar. I think Zimbabwe has a potential, naturally is a better placed, and you can remember it was the Rhodesia those days for agricultural purposes and for agricultural land. So under this leadership, I strongly believe that Mnangagwa understands well that if he revives the economy, then Zimbabwe will be the food basket of Africa, and now the opportunities, the job creation, people will not suffer because there is no employment. So I submit that Zimbabwe is doing well, and under Mnangagwa is now mostly focused to revive those industries that were run down under the previous regime, and now Zimbabwe is growing up. I was sharing with a friend from Zimbabwe under the trade movement, and they confirmed to me that Zimbabwe is now doing well. Under this leadership, if they continue doing what they are doing now, Zimbabwe will now come back as the food basket of Africa. I also submit.
Oh, thank you so much, Samson. Professor, despite the challenges that President Mnangagwa inherited when he became president from the previous regime of the late President Robert Mugabe, there's still a lot of economic turmoil and other sectors that have suffered, but appears he's been able to navigate through there, and he's trying to do his best to make sure that he serves well the people of Zimbabwe. I don't know how you think President Mnangagwa has been doing so far, despite the sanctions and other challenges.
Thank you, Miriam. You know that, Miriam, that Africa is a continent on the rise. And for Africa to rise, Miriam, it must need progressive leaders. It must need leaders who means well for this continent. It must have leaders who believe that something good will come out of the continent of Africa, Miriam. Miriam, you have to realize that Africa is the continent with our resources being intact, although it is different, but still God has spared us. Miriam, you have to know that Africa has got the human resource, the young people whom you have to be proud of, Miriam. Yes, Comrade Emerson inherited the country, Miriam, with all the problems, and the member people resisted him taking over. But Miriam, you have to realize that Comrade Emerson had worked in government, so he knew where things were going zigzag and not straight. So Miriam, I can say that Comrade Emerson is Mr. Fixer, and he's fixing the problem in Zimbabwe. Miriam, I can see there are still some progressive leaders in Africa. I can say, President Uhuru Mugai Kenyatta is one of the progressive leaders in Africa. Remember, Miriam, the campaign, the way he campaigned until we got a position as a non-sitting member of the Security Council. We have got President Addo in Nigeria, in Ghana. We have got the president of Malawi, the new president of Zambia, Miriam. So what I want to do, Miriam, to say that Comrade Emerson, Miriam, is equal to the task, Miriam, the task. Remember all the sanctions which Zimbabwe was slapped on, and Miriam, we have been saying in this TV, Miriam, and I'm happy that in one way or the other they listen to us. Can they put out policies and programs, Miriam, which will take this continent forward? Miriam, a stable Zimbabwe is something good for the region, Miriam. Miriam, remember people say that can something good come from Bethlehem? Yes, the Savior was born from Bethlehem. Can something come good from Zimbabwe? You know, Comrade Samson has said that they were using Adora. Miriam, they are moving towards using their currency. Miriam, this is a step in the right direction, Miriam. And we will continue praying for Zimbabwe, wishing them well, Miriam. And any in Africa, Miriam, who will protect. Who will protect, Miriam, our people? Who will protect us to be seen as human beings among the nations of the world, Miriam? Miriam has got my support. I submit.
Okay, thank you. Professor Dr. Joseph Nyanchama.
Oh, thank you, Miriam. Thank you, Prof. And others for that insightful thought. For me, Miriam, allow me firstly, you know, when I was young, a neighbor classmate of mine invited me to accompany him to a journey. You know, I had only one shot. So because I was so excited, so I had to boil water and then wash the shot with. Miriam, you know what happened? That I waited the whole day and the cloth could not dry. I went to seek answers. I got the answers from the scientists. They told me, if you washed the cloth with hot water, first of all, it had to cool to the room temperature before it begins to dry. Oh, Miriam, I learned a lesson of my life. Similarly to the president of Zimbabwe, it is a similar situation he found himself in when he took over. The economy was negative there. He had to stabilize it, cool it to the room temperature before it begins to grow. As Samson said, they used to use the dollars. Now they're using their local currency, meaning that he has stabilized the economy and is focused to take his people to higher heights of development. I had the opportunity of reading his vision, although not wholly and exclusively. His strategy and vision is both motivational and aspirational. And the only thing we as fellow Africans wish to advise him is the only way I can also advise him is by borrowing words from David Henry Tolle, the former president of US. He said that if a man moves confidently in the direction of his dreams and endeavors to live the life which he has imagined, he will meet with success unexpected in common hours. The president of Zimbabwe, if he continues to move confidently in the direction he has chosen, which is of course anchored on his bigger statement, vision, and strategy, definitely the people of Zimbabwe will meet success unexpected in common hours. In that regard, Miriam, we advise them to support their president because the success of Zimbabwe is the success of Africa. That is why in this Pan-African TV, we wish every positive thinking leader in Africa, we put our weight before him. And that is why today we put whole and exclusively our weight before him. And may God give him even a higher vision to catapult the economic status of his people. Okay. To that extent, Miriam, I submit.
Very well. Dr. Joseph Nyanchama, thank you so much for that. And with that, I'll just move swiftly to our next topic, and that is Ethiopia. And we know that preparations are currently underway. Prime Minister, Abiy Ahmed, will be inaugurated tomorrow for his second 5-year term in Ethiopia. I don't know if you've been following the elections in Ethiopia. Some of it happened early in the year, but there are some regions where elections was not able to happen because of some technical issues issues, insecurity issues, but they voted last week, and in all the voting, there was a resounding, vote towards in support of Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed. But even as that happens, Ethiopia's government has ordered the expulsion of 7 senior United Nations officials from the country for meddling in its internal affairs. The move on Thursday came as humanitarian workers have been sounding their alarm about limited access to the embattled Tigray region, which has been racked by conflict for nearly 11 months now. The 7 officials, who include individuals from the United Nations Children's Fund, UNICEF, the United Nations Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs, UNOCHA, have been declared persona non grata and were given 72 hours to leave the country in a statement by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs last week on Thursday. So we know media right now has been curtailed in Ethiopia. International media are not even allowed to access some areas in the conflict-ridden and Tigray area, and there has been reports of great, I think, what amounts even to genocide that has been happening there. So these UN officials have been trying to take aid to that region in Ethiopia, but the government has been hampering these efforts with the use of the government forces and also the Eritrean forces who have been accused of doing this. And so Ethiopia got tired and decided, you're meddling in our affairs, and so we are going to remove you from this country. And these individuals and staff of the United Nations have now been declared persona non grata. Okay, I'll start with Samson Omech. What do you make of these developments? I'm sure you've been following this conflict in Ethiopia that started last year in November and has just continued to get worse.
Thank you, Miriam, for the opportunity. And I've been following the issues, the developments in Ethiopia for quite long. And the Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed came in with a lot of hope. And in fact, most people in the world saw that now Ethiopia will take a new direction. But midway, I don't know what came on. The good Prime Minister started doing the contrary. And I remember when he immediately came to power, he made some progress. He made some amends. He reconciled with the neighbors. And everybody was happy. And the most political prisoners were freed. And I don't know what's happening. And remember, Ethiopia is a bigger country. It has over 100 million citizens. It's a great nation with a lot of potential. But we are very worried. Now that the media freedom is being suppressed by the same government that came to make it more open for the world to come and invest. Ethiopia has a lot of resources. Ethiopia has a lot of potential. But with the kind of leadership now that the Abiy Ahmed is now going to be sworn in tomorrow for the second term, we are praying that he will now come back to senses and find that Ethiopia will not made itself, will not leave it alone, will not work. We are in Africa. We are praying good. We are praying every African country to be open up. So that we need leadership. We need to see leadership, proper leadership. And now, Ethiopia, being our neighbors, the Kenyans now, we are more worried that if tension in Ethiopia will now not be taken in control, and then will affect us as neighbors. We have so many people working in Ethiopia. We have so many Kenyans working in Ethiopia. Ethiopia has a lot of international diplomats and international agencies in Ethiopia. Now that they have been declared persona non grata, then there is a problem. But we hope, and we are calling upon the government of Ethiopia under the leadership of Abiy Ahmed to come to senses, to reconsider those decisions, and find a way of settling their internal issues, because most of these things are internal. Media is just reporting. The media, their work is just reporting. They are not participating in anything. They are not participating in local politics. They are just reporting what is happening in Ethiopia. And as people, as Africans, we have a right to know what is happening in Ethiopia, like we have a right to know what's happening in Zimbabwe, what's happening in Uganda, what's happening in Kenya. We are all Africans, and we want to know our neighbors, our other Africans, what are they going through? So it's my prayer, and I'm calling upon the Prime Minister of Ethiopia, that he should now reconsider the decision to declare those diplomats and persona non grata, so that we can find a way and they can find the time to fix their local politics. Ethiopia is a great nation. Ethiopia should now focus more on how to read Africans, so that Africans will rise and rise and rise. I so submit.
Thank you. Thank you. Samson Mechi. Now, Daniel Wesonga, we've seen what has been happening in Ethiopia, and even as Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed readying to be inaugurated for his second term tomorrow, the conflict that has been ongoing between the government and the regional forces of Tigray, the Tigrayan People Liberation Forces, and the people of Tigray there, and the massacres and the deaths and the human catastrophe, that has been happening in the Tigray. And having the fact that African Union headquarters is in Ethiopia, and the silence of we've seen across board, especially in Africa, this silence of conspiracy, has the region, especially Africa and the African Union, let down the people of Tigray?
Thank you, Miriam. And of course, for the longest time on this particular program, we've maintained that African Union is the biggest letdown for the African people.
Miriam.
Oh, you're back.
Madam, I just want to ask that, can I make my 2 remarks and run for the next meeting? The Minister of Foreign Affairs of this country, where I am, is here.
Okay.
Miriam. The position of Ethiopia is Prime Minister Abiy is being sworn in today. Tomorrow. But the Prime Minister erred.
He'll be sworn in tomorrow.
Tomorrow, sorry.
Yes.
He erred. The Prime Minister erred, and the first error he made was to shake hands with Esaias Efeki. Miriam, didn't I say that in front of you and me, 2 of us? I said it. It was the worst mistake that he made. And I predicted 2 years ago, when they shook hands, that this is the beginning of disintegration of Ethiopia. I am not near Prophet Isaiah or Elijah or whoever it is. I am just a man who studied the region. And I have the material. The biggest obstacle in the Great Lakes region and the north, the horn of Africa, is Eritrea. If you get rid of Eritrean president, the horn will stabilize. I submit. The whole of these stories that you hear about is because of him. The people who strike us in Kenya and run, where do they go? Where do they go? They go back to Esimara. It is not long before you hear again, Miriam, before you hear, and quote me again, before you hear there is a meeting in Doha. We started hearing about Taliban meeting in Doha. We have now seen the results. Very soon you will hear the results. That these guys are in a meeting of national unity in Mogadishu. So you who lost your limb, your leg, your eye, your stomach has been operated with needles and fixed with Uzi. You'll have to work with those Uzis for a long time. That is the subject called international relations. There is no international relations except international interests. I submit.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Matsanga, for that. Daniel Wesonga, you were saying something?
So I am running out. I want to thank you all. I want to thank Samson. I want to thank Joseph Nachama. I want to thank Professor Jared Onyari, Tawish. I want to thank Daniel Wesonga. I want to thank you, Miriam, for holding the fort until I arrive. I still have some days to do to finalize so many things in Europe and on Africa, especially on Somalia issue and other things. I am here in this capital city. I am a very tough digger at night and very active during the daytime. Both days I am active. The struggle continues for the better Kenya. Thank you very much.
All right.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, Doc. Thank you for your time. All right, Daniel Wasonga, go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Miriam. And of course, Dr. Masanga has actually exhausted whatever I wanted to talk about. So I won't say much rather than to say, when you look at Eritrea under Isaias, these are country which has been accused of gross violation of human rights. And actually, it is infamously referred to as the North Korea of Africa, where we have very, very totalitarian regime under President Isaias. And therefore, when Dr. Masanga says Dr. Abiy Ahmed erred when he had a handshake with the president of Eritrea, then it makes some sense, because this is a man who has been accused of killing people in his own country. In 1991, in 1998, actually they had a war with Ethiopia on territorial scramble, where Eritrea wanted to take some part of Ethiopia, and Ethiopia felt that this is an encroachment of its sovereign territory. And therefore, to me, I think that the fact that Dr. Abiy Ahmed is a Nobel Peace Prize winner, shaking hands with a man whose hands are bloodied, then the only outcome could be the kind of atrocities that we are seeing around Ethiopia, because the kind of purge that has been ongoing in the Tigray region is alleged to be being carried out by the Eritrean forces, whose many media agencies have actually highlighted. So to me, I think even when he's planning to be inaugurated tomorrow, I think the big problem hasn't been solved in Ethiopia. First, the problem emanated from the issue of holding elections. And ever since the conflict in Ethiopia began, Ethiopia has not been able to hold free, fair, and credible elections. And you've seen the Tigrayan People's Liberation Front actually accusing the Ethiopian government of spearheading an ethnic cleansing across the country. So that brings into foray a very wider picture, because now it is not only the Tigrayans. We have seen about the Oromos. We have seen about we have heard about the Ogaden. We have heard about the Amharas also having their own militias. So to me, whatever I think, Ethiopia is slowly but surely cascading into the league of countries like Nigeria, where overnight a gang of bandits raid a school and take away children, where we have streets being pervaded by ruthless killings and all that kind of impunity that happens in failed states. So if it is not rectified at these early stages, then Eritrea is going to, not Eritrea, but Ethiopia is going to be a failed state. And Dr. Abiy Ahmed might not be even lucky to finish the second term that he's going to be sworn in tomorrow. So they have, first of all, to treat the root of the conflict in Ethiopia before they can actually think about forming the next government and continue being in power. Because soon enough, if they do not sort out the mess that is in their country in terms of leadership, then I believe the war and the instability in the country will force them out of power. I submit, Miriam.
All right, thank you so much. Well, Ethiopia fixing its ways through Abiy Ahmed and the diplomatic relations with Eritrea is just one part of why the problems that started in Ethiopia. But also there's an issue of Abiy Ahmed. Remember, he dissolved all the smaller parties in Ethiopia and forced them to have one bigger party called Prosperity Party. And so that TPLF refused to join that Prosperity Party, and that began the contention that we have today. And TPLF, that had been in power for nearly 27 years, now has been declared a terrorist group. So that also is another aspect of the issues we see plague Ethiopia today. But nevertheless, Professor Jared Onyari, a question that I've asked Daniel earlier: have the region, especially the African Union, let down the people of Tigray?
Yeah, Miriam, that's a very good question, and this is how I want to approach it. As African Union led down the people of Tigray, I remember the mocker of all things, Miriam, the seat of African Union, Miriam, is in Addis Ababa. So at least they must be privy to what is happening in Ethiopia. They must be having information about the conflict. Be either as it may, Miriam, you know, when it comes to people fighting for self-determination, Miriam, you know my stand. Give people an opportunity to decide on who they want to become. Miriam, again, you cannot stop people when they want something, because it's not you want, it is them. So whether with or without African Union, and you know African Union is a toothless dog, do you want to say that, do you want me, Miriam, to say that he has let them down, Miriam? Has he ever helped any country in Africa, Miriam, so that it can help the people of Tigray? But what I want to say that, Miriam, I was on record, you know, from my peace background here, is that when the Prime Minister Nobel Prize, I said that they could have also given Isaiah the Nobel Prize because they had committed themselves to peace, but it did not happen. So that was pattern, and the kind of the things the Prime Minister is trying to do is not the kind of person who receives the Nobel Prize, Miriam. You cannot receive the Nobel Prize, Miriam, and you violate human rights, kill people. You can, Miriam, let me just tell you, it is just a matter of time, and watch this space. It's going to be shown in, and let me not say that he rigged himself in. The people of Ethiopia have decided, Miriam, you know, the only fear I have in life is that when the fools become many in number, you know, they can elect one of their own, and they become their leader, and that fool will harass you. So the fact that the people of Ethiopia have decided, Miriam, to elect him, Miriam, on which I don't want to underrate them, Miriam. But there is much to watch from this space, Miriam. Ethiopia is not going to be the same, Miriam, again. And particularly when you start now fighting the international community, Miriam, United Nations, Miriam, then you are not a serious leader. I can tell you for sure. He is complicating things for him. And with Tigray, Miriam, it can be tomorrow, it can be the other day. It can take long. I don't know how it is, but Miriam, their self-determination is on the way coming. I submit.
All right, thank you so much, Dr. Joseph Nyanchama. I don't know, what is your thoughts on what has been happening there in Ethiopia, even as Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed prepares to be inaugurated tomorrow for his second term?
Oh, Miriam, I think you asked the question to Professor whether
we've let down
African Union. Mm-hmm. Let me begin from there.
Go ahead.
Whether African Union has led the people of Tigray down. Mm-hmm. I thought, Miriam, you should reframe it this way. Mm-hmm. Which people has African Union not led down? Because I can't remember.
Okay. Where they acted.
The people AU has stood for or by. Coming back to your question, Miriam, for me is to advise him. I don't know whether he listens satellite TV. Personality may open doors for you. Only character will keep them open. He gained a Nobel Prize. That was a personality trait that opened that door for him. He needs to know what should keep that door of prosperity open, his character, which in this case seem not to be present. As Professor said, you cannot continue to fight, you cannot begin a fight of United Nations Security Council, especially when they are trying to reach people and make their life ongoing, to give them food. It is a human right to get food to survive. You cannot say that they are interfering with your internal affairs and people are dying, for example. In other words, being inaugurated in office is not the bigger cause. The bigger cause, Miriam, going to the principles under which he was given the Nobel Prize, is the success of his people. In fact, if he should even stop going to office, so long as his people are successful and peaceful, he should stop. I don't know what is wrong with the leaders in Africa. The bigger picture is the welfare of the people, Miriam, and this is what this station fights for. Going to be inaugurated into office with such a confused state of insecurity is of no consequences. African leaders need to know one thing: live and let live. You know, I was even surprised when in our country, someone saying an individual is an institution in charge. I mean, this madness should stop. This prime minister needs to know, going into office is not the bigger issue. The issue is how secure are your people, how peaceful are they? If it means not going into office will make them peaceful, don't go into office. And do not interfere with international agencies when they are trying to help your people who are hungry. That is a serious fundamental error and mistake, and it needs to surge in his inner soul. Miriam, I hope he has heard our voice. I submit.
Okay, thank you. And that is where we put to rest the issue on Ethiopia. Of course, I talk about it every day. So tomorrow you can join us in subsequent shows, and I will be bringing you the latest, even as Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed will be inaugurated tomorrow for his second term. Now, there's a country also that has been in a limbo as we speak, and that is Mali. We know that Mali's president was removed through a coup last year. That will be the former president now, Ibrahim Boubacar Keïta. And after that, the Mali junta has been leading the country. I think the leader is Colonel Goïta. I think that is his name. So now there has been issues because France has raised a lot of issues with the Mali's new cozy relationship with a Russian mercenaries firm that is now planning to give them security personnel to come and help them. This is after France said it is planning to scale down the number of troops it has in Mali. Remember, France has been partnering with some Sahel region countries in the fight against jihadist activities and insurgency that has plagued that region. So currently there are 5,000 French troops, and France has said we are going to cut down the number of troops there. And of course, Germany also about a week ago raised similar concerns, and Germany has about 900 troops in Mali, and the latest to express its disgruntledness is the United Kingdom, which also has a number of troops in Mali. So now a cargo plane has delivered 4 helicopters, or rather delivered 4 helicopters, weapons and ammunition from Russia to Mali, according to the military-led authorities in the West African country. Interim Defense Minister Sadio Kamara said late on Thursday Mali had acquired the aircraft in a contract agreed in December 2020 to support its armed forces in their battle alongside French, European and United Nations troops with fighters linked to ISIL and Al-Qaeda. The group was first identified, that is the Wagner group that Mali is trying to work with, was identified in 2014 when it was backing pro-Russian separatists in the conflict in eastern Ukraine. Since then, it has been involved in countries including Syria, Mozambique, Sudan, Libya, and Central Africa. And if you just post and look at those countries in the continent and see the state of how they are today, I don't know how you would judge, the involvement of this Russian mercenary company. So the reason why France, UK and Germany and other European Union countries are opposing the inclusion of Russia. Russia was removed from the European Union for some reasons. It's too many history. We can't get into that right now. But they are saying their goal might not be in tandem with perhaps what this Russian firm might have in mind, and might not work in tandem with what they've been doing in Mali. So, but the Malian current, leadership has said they will go ahead, and now we see some cargo plane already delivered some helicopters, weapons, and ammunition from Russia to Mali. So are we likely to see another proxy war in play in Mali, the country that is already very fragile as we speak? Daniel Wesonga.
Yes, thank you, Miriam Ogutu, and you're absolutely right. Whatever we are seeing in West Africa is actually what used to happen during the Cold War, where if one country was pushed away from, let's say, the Western powers like the US or the UK, it will actually fall into the arms of the Soviet Union, the Russia, the communists. And that is what is happening. And to me, I think when you look at the pattern of the coups that are happening in West Africa, they are all attributed to the Francophone African countries. And that tells you that France will be having a hand in those particular coups. But be as it may, Miriam, I think France is also being beaten at their own games, because their own agenda, after having these coups and disposing leaders like what we saw the other week in Guinea, is to make sure that they have someone they can easily cajole and be able to aim at their main goal of supporting these coups in Africa. And that is actually dipping their hands into the numerous resources that are actually in these countries. And whenever they find that the people they bring and they propel to power cannot allow them the right to actually mine and take away these resources, then it becomes, they become a bother to them. And that is why these leaders, you might find that actually they're also looking unto Russia to give them some aid so that they can be able to repulse these Anglo-French purge that actually they are planning to work against them. That's the same way Fidel Castro worked. You know, when you don't have the Americans, you don't have the British and the French working behind you, then you go the Russian way. So these are problems that was created by France and its Western allies, and now it is turning, the tide is turning against them. That is why they're behaving quite with quite some jitters. But I believe, Miriam, Africa should not be involved in these proxy wars, because at the end of it all, look at the situation like it is in Guinea today. We will end up with weakened administrative structures. We'll end up ruining our economies. We'll end up even destroying the few strides that we've achieved in terms of democracy, just in the quest of maybe heeding to the cause of these Western powers, which are actually at a cold war with one another. So to me, I think France and the allies, the Western allies, should actually be honest in their whatever they are doing. But as it is, Miriam, I think it is just part of the wider scheme of the Cold War, in that these countries are fighting for resources between themselves, and therefore the African countries are just caught in the middle of this. And that is why we might even anticipate maybe in the coming days, those coup leaders who are in the office right now, be it in Mali, in Chad, or maybe Guinea, we might not see a very stable leadership coming from those countries. I submit.
Okay, thank you so much. And maybe perhaps a very important piece of information that I forgot to put in there is that after the removal of former president, now Ibrahim Boubacar Keïta, there was an agreement that was mediated with a leadership in ECOWAS, and they had sent the former president of Nigeria, I think Goodluck Jonathan, to try to mediate. And the agreement was for the military junta to organize for an election in February next year. But as we have been approaching February, there seems to be some laxity in the military side to organize for an election, and even ECOWAS raised its concern a couple of weeks ago, saying the elections that are supposed to happen in February, from what they saw and the commitment or lack thereof from the military junta, the elections might not really happen. So there's likely not to be a transition from the military rulership right now to a civilian. So as it stands right now, Mali is not a member of the African Union. Remember, if you are being led by a military in Africa, you cannot be a member of the African Union. So as it stands right now, and from these new developments in Mali, Samson Omechi, could we be correct in saying there's a possibility of a proxy war, as we've seen the relationship of Russia and the EU play out in Europe, and now there seems to be a transfer of that, and especially that seems to be at play in Mali. How do you think this will affect, especially the transition?
I think what's happening now is a product of what those powers from the other side started. every coup in Africa, it is being engineered elsewhere for some special interest, be it for weapons, be it for other interests, Cold War, because those Western countries are trying to overshadow the other. And in the case of Mali now, it is the same powers, according to my assessment and analysis, that they are trying to make it difficult for the transfer of power from the military junta to the civilian not to happen because of their vested interest. Because what they started, it's like they have not been able to manage it properly in order to achieve their goals. Because they always initiate with an intention to achieve specific goals for their own interests. And whenever they find that they have not achieved those goals and those interests, they will frustrate the process. They will create a problem, they will come to sort it out. When they find it that it's not difficult to, but all of this, I can only blame our systems. You see, Africa, that's why we are talking of the welfare of Africa. If Africans were capable of doing our own things, we could have find ourselves in that such situation. Because number one, like now in Mali has issues previously. Mali has never been as we wanted it to be. They are still behind. But what is the African Union doing to make these small countries stable? The answer is nothing. They're just talking. Because if in my own understanding, we have what we call the ECOWAS. This organization is some regional organization.
In West Africa.
They are just coming together. Yeah, the West Africa. But I find it difficult. What is their purpose? What are they doing? What are they doing basically to address such an issue? Because those things could have been seen very, very earlier. You see, at the times, we give those people room to come and ruin our own affairs, and now we are going to blame them. It's like a blame game, but at the end of the day, we are bringing that the elections that was intended or scheduled to happen on next year, how I wish the same could happen, so that we can now move on to the process of reconciliation, of healing, so that the country can develop. There is no development that can happen in a country that where there are fracas, where there are issues, where military is trying to control, people are trying to make noise. There is no development, workers will suffer, economy will suffer, everybody will suffer, Africa will suffer. Because an injury to one of the countries of Africa is an injury to all Africans. We cannot sleep well when we feel that our brothers from the other country are not sleeping well. So we are praying that our leaders, the African Union, to wake up and come out so that they control the situation in Mali. That is my submission.
Thank you so much, Samson. Now, as I've mentioned there earlier, there are countries already in Africa that this Wagner group, has provided with mercenaries in this continent, and not just in the continent, but also in a country like Syria. And in Africa, we do have Mozambique, Sudan, Libya, and the Central African Republic, and the current state these African countries are as we speak right now. So are these European countries right in raising these concerns they have towards Russia bringing mercenaries in Mali? And what do you think, Professor, is the intention of Russians in this regard? Well, Prof is not there. Dr. Joseph Onyanchama, sorry. Dr. Nyanchama? Okay, so Dr. Nyanchama is not present. I take that. So anyway, thank you so much for, I don't know if Samuel wishes back.
Yes, thank you, Miriam. Miriam, if you allow me to make a comment on that. It appears, Miriam, of course, the Western power countries are, of course, engaging in what appears to be like another scramble for the partition of Africa. If you listen carefully to the submissions that have been made by the previous commentators, indeed, this is not just an ordinary push and pull in as far as what is happening in Mali is concerned. And in itself, Miriam, it is a clear demonstration that there are vested interests coming from the European nations. You've talked about France, you've talked about Germany, you've talked about US, and of course, trying to point fingers at Russia and whatever kind of assistance Russia is giving to Mali in as far as stabilizing that country is concerned. For what reason will, for example, France indict Russia for helping, of course, Mali in trying to fight its enemies in that particular country? It is a very basic, Miriam, it is a common sense that for the longest time, France and other European countries have never been comfortable with the stability, security, and peace in the eastern countries, in the African countries. And you've given an example of the Sahel region countries where, of course, there appears to be a lot of vested interest. We have never seen peace and stability in those regions. I mean, you've cited the example of Central African Republic, Mozambique, and others. Why is it that we are having such kind of situation? Is it because the people of Mali do not want to have peace? Is it because they don't love stability for their country? I do not think so. But because we have allowed the external forces to come and infiltrate in the affairs of these particular nations, that is why these nations and Africa at large can never quite see or feel the elusive peace. Miriam, it's very unfortunate that instead of these nations or the European countries coming to give support and aid to these nations to stabilize them and give any kind of necessary support that is required for the stability of these nations, what they are doing is quite opposite, and I do not think it is for the interest of the people of Mali and the extension, the African continent, if not serving their own self-interest. I submit, Miriam.
Thank you so much, and that is where we end our show this afternoon. Thank you, Samuel Tawish. Thank you, Dr. David Matanga, who led the conversation just a while ago, and Samson Omechi Ongera. It was a pleasure to have you on the show today. Hopefully, we'll be having you in our subsequent shows. Thank you, Daniel Wasong and Professor Jared Onyari, as well as Dr. Joseph Nyanchama. This has been Africa Showdown. My name is Miriam Ogutu. I'll see you here back tomorrow, 9 a.m. East African time, with more news from across the continent. Thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye for now.
Thank you, Miriam.